I was born in Cyprus. At the age of 4, I forcibly emigrated to London, UK, and I stayed there for about 30 years. And then I came back to Cyprus in 1994. My work in radio began when I was a student, like yourselves, in about 1979. You weren't students in 1979, I was, at the University of Essex, and there was a station called URE, University Radio Essex, on the campus. The campus was about 3,000 people at the time or something. So it was a micro radio station at a 3 or 4 mile radius, but those 3,000 people, a lot of them listened to this radio station like a religion. And so I got involved with this radio station and soon found myself doing 5 shows a week. Every night of the week I was on radio for my first couple of years. I kind of, didn't do so much in my final year because, as you know, when you get in your final year, you start studying, But URE was a big learning ground for me. And there was a huge difference between when I started and when I finished the university in terms of the way I was speaking. I got a lot of experience in terms of doing interviews with artists, got a lot more confident, built up a much bigger record collection. And from there, I moved back to London, and I can't say I got involved with radio stations. A lot of my friends got involved with like pirate radio stations, a lot of DJs. I think I got more involved with DJing, and I was doing a lot more DJing, like functional DJing, anything I could find that would earn an income. Anything from playing in a bar and a club to doing a Greek wedding, to kind of like doing my own promotions, my own gigs. So my first radio work in Cyprus was on a station, it still exists, called Radio Prodon, which was a big learning ground for me. I did 2 shows a week, completely different shows. One was a reggae show, and the other show, which was the first show in Cyprus playing reggae music in the early 90s. And the other one was a show called Δρ.Χατζήμηχαήλ, which was a show playing Laika, which is Bouzouki Greek music. It's one of my favorite musics as well. And that show was immensely popular, whereas the other show was a bit more niche, underground, had a much more limited audience, but very dedicated audience. And from there I worked on other stations and I started to develop more experience. And then when I started teaching radio as well, which I enjoy a lot. It's one of the subjects because I've had so much experience in this field, and also my knowledge of studying the media in my PhD mainly. I enjoy that just as much as being on radio. About 7 or 8 years ago, I started doing a show called International, which is played in 5 or 6 different countries, different stations. And more recently, I got involved with live internet radio station called Versionist, which I do a live show on every week, which is very different because it incorporates the technology of the chat room. So you can engage with the DJ. It's quite an interesting phenomena, in a communication sense. You have to survive. It's as simple as that, I got to be really blunt about this, I do like being an academic. I've enjoyed it thoroughly and I wouldn't really change it for anything. But in the ideal world, I'd probably be making music and I'd probably be on radio. But as I said before, in Cyprus, it's extremely difficult for anybody to live just by music alone. So I decided to combine things, but to keep music and radio more as my passion and not so much as my way of earning income. So I think when you try and earn income from music in Cyprus, sometimes things can go wrong because it's such a small market. It's very difficult to sustain steady income. You can have a certain amount of income from music, but it's very difficult to live off music alone. The same goes for radio. Radio is probably one of the most underpaid media in Cyprus. And for a short period of time, a few years when I was working on mainly on Radio Prodon, I think I was doing okay financially for what I was doing. But having lived here for a number of years, it became more and more difficult to keep earning that kind of money, and especially in this crisis where a lot of people lost their jobs in the media, they pay very badly for freelancers, and a lot of freelance work is finished. So I would rather do radio for nothing, but do it in a way that I feel a passion for it, than do it and get paid peanuts and feel like I'm being ripped off, which is what local stations do to everybody, and that's why I refuse to work with them. I don't think there's anything else I'd rather be doing than music, radio and teaching. I think I've actually done the things I wanted to do in life. I've never felt regret for doing music. And I think the worst thing and I've seen people in radio, be on radio, and actually say on air, you know, I wish I was somewhere else, you know, then you shouldn't be in radio. You know, it's one of them jobs, you love it or you don't do it, it's as simple as that. I don't think there's anything else I'd prefer to do, really. And I really like the combination because I'm in a position where I'm still engaged with music, and a lot of my research is about music, so I'm actually doing research on something that I'm still engaged with. And the same goes for radio. If I choose to do research on that in the future, I've got a lot of experience in that field. So I think that everything informs the other thing, sort of thing. Radio, music is interrelated. Teaching, my experience in music and radio brings a lot to my teaching practice. So that is important to me, and these are the choices that I've made in life. There's nothing else I prefer to do. I would like to solve the Cyprus problem. You can put that in. Or, you know, I think it's important to contribute to that solution, and not to be part of the problem, but to be part of the solution. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I'd like to be part of a generation of people, and generations of people, because the problem is older than one generation. These are the people that wanted to solve it. And even if it doesn't happen, we should be remembered for trying to do it. Even if we're a little minority of me and Pavlos.